Hello and welcome. For the third time in about 4 months, bandits attacked school in Kaduna, killed 1 student and kidnapped 8 others and 2 lecturers of Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic. At least 14 people killed in another attack on Zurmi, Kaura, Namoda local government areas in Zamfara state. The president insists his administration will not spare bandits and those destroying public assets, restates commitments to handing over power in 2023. And G7 summit begins in Cornwall, United Kingdom, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson urging leaders to learn lessons of COVID-19 pandemic and address inequality. Plus we'll have business, sports, news from Abuja, and later on international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's active internet subscribers dropped by 6% to 144.9 million in the first quarter of 2021.
On sports news tonight, Stefanos Tsitsipas becomes the first Greek player to reach a Grand Slam final after defeating Germany's Alexander Zverev in a bruising 5-setter at the French Open.
And from the nation's capital, National Association of Nigerian Students suspends planned demonstration to demand safety of schools, alleges possible hijack of action by some politicians.
Residents of Zaria in Kaduna State woke up to the news of yet another attack by gunmen on a school in the state, well, this time a polytechnic, where a student was killed while 8 others and 2 of their lecturers were kidnapped. The gunmen stormed the Nuhu Bamali hostels and lecturers' quarters, shooting sporadically at everyone in sight. The incident is the third in a series of school abductions in the state since March this year. The school authorities have since announced the closure of the institution until further notice.
This is Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic, located along Kaduna-Zaria Road, the gateway to most of the states in the northwest zone. It's less than 2 kilometers to Zaria City in Zaria local government area of Kaduna State. However, despite its proximity to the Emirates, the peace of the Polytechnic community took flight on Thursday night after kidnappers invaded the institution, killing 1 student and abducting 8 others and 2 lecturers. Eyewitnesses told Channels Television that the gunmen came into the school through an unfenced area and went straight to the hostels and staff quarters, shooting to create fear amongst residents. It's also reported that the bandits attempted to attack travelers on the highway, but were repelled by troops before they then made their way to the Polytechnic. 2 students were shot by the bandits. One of them, who is in his final year, died on Friday, while the other victim is still in hospital. 2 people who say they were lucky to escape expressed concern over the security situation.
I got this in the process of escaping. They went into my bathroom where I was trying to enter the ceiling, and they dragged me down and brought me outside. So in the process of bringing me outside, I realized that I can push the guy since the gun is hanged. And I pushed him and I took off.
While I was running, all of them started chasing me. I ran to an extent whereby I saw somewhere. I went there. Then the next thing we will start hearing was a gunshot.
The wife of one of the lecturers narrates how her husband was kidnapped.
One of them from outside said, if you don't cooperate, just shoot his leg. I said, don't worry, just cooperate. That was how they pushed him out of the window, and then the person that came inside also followed.
The students of the Polytechnic say this is not the first time they are witnessing such attacks due to its vulnerability.
At least we should see troops around. We all know that this is not where they're supposed to be. But because of the security issue in the states, we need them around. Many students are not staying in the campuses because of issues like this.
The state government promises to do its best to improve security.
We are of the strong conviction that the bandit came to the institution because they were denied freedom of action on the Kaduna-Zaria road. Possibly that is why they exploited the window that we saw here.
This is the latest attack on a tertiary institution in Kaduna State in the last 3 months. In April, over 20 students and staff were kidnapped from the Greenfield University in Chicken. 3 of the students were killed. All others have since regained their freedom. And in March, 37 students were abducted from the Federal College of Forestry, Mechanization in Afaka. They've also been freed.
Now, that incident has also elicited reactions from the National Association of Polytechnic Students, and they've issued a 7-day ultimatum to the Kaduna State government to secure the release of the abducted students or prepare for a showdown. The former president of the association, Mr. Tijani Mustafa, says they are concerned about the continuous abduction of students across the country and the rising insecurity around tertiary institutions.
The meeting expressed worries and dissatisfaction over incessant kidnapping of students on polytechnic and monotechnics campuses nationwide. Condemned the attack on New Bamali Polytechnic Zaria by bandits who adopted yet to be ascertained number of students and staffs over the night, while calling on government at all levels to intensify effort in securing our campuses nationwide. The government of Kaduna State is hereby giving 7 days ultimatum to secure the release of our students in the hands of bandits.
From Kaduna to Zamfara State, where there was also a deadly attack with no fewer than 50 persons reportedly killed by suspected bandits in 4 communities in Zurmi and Kaura Namoda local government areas of the state. A source from the community and several others said they sustained different degrees of injuries and have been rushed to hospital. One of the victims says the bandits stormed the communities on hundreds of motorcycles with sophisticated weapons and started shooting sporadically. According to another resident, they wanted to convey at least 40 bodies to Zurmi Emirate to show the government, but they were convinced by elders of the community to bury them and grieve in silence because the deed has been done. But the police say 14 persons were killed by the assailants and a team of policemen deployed to the area. Security is also a major concern in the southeast, and a federal government delegation visited Enugu today alongside security chiefs for dialogue with the governors of the region, political leaders, traditional and religious leaders, as well as other stakeholders. The summit, held in Enugu and hosted by Governor Ifeanyi Ogwani, was designed to find solutions to the recent security challenges being experienced across the country, including the southeast region.
The hardest conflict should be seen from the perspective of national interest and to be given the necessary accord that will stop this menace all over the country. Second, to discuss the problem of marginalization, which I think is well accepted, but further discussion will continue after we have met with Mr. President to see the grievances and after the governors articulate their position so that we can have a thorough discussion on it. We have also talked about community policing, which is a vogue now in Nigeria by state governments. And we are of the opinion that such a community policing by the Southeast governors should be encouraged, because we have already set a precedent in Amatako in the western part of the country.
Meanwhile, the Igbo Elders Council in the nation's capital, Abuja, have condemned the current crackdown on members of the indigenous people of Biafra in the southeast, insisting that security agencies are now involved in indiscriminate killing of innocent young people in the region. The chairman of the group, who is also a former governor of Anambra State, Chukwuemeka Ezife, alleges that dozens of young people, mostly male, are executed on a daily basis by security operatives in the region. The group is asking President Buhari and the international community to take necessary action to stop the indiscriminate killings by security operatives in the region.
We condemn without any reservation the destruction of public property in the southeast, because it is not in our character to indulge in arson, brigandage. We believe, however, that it is not fair and just to use a sledgehammer to kill harmless flies. Security agencies now indiscriminately invade private homes at odd hours in the same guise of fishing out presumed IPOB and ESN members. They arrest men and sometimes shoot innocent and helpless youths. We therefore call on President Muhammad Buhari, the United Nations, the European Union, African Union, ECOWAS, to take urgent and necessary action to stop the current genocide against the Igbos in Southeast.
It's already 6 years since the president assumed office, and he's been speaking on the state of the nation, particularly on how to tackle insecurity and the steps taken since he assumed office. President Muhammadu Buhari acknowledged the challenges facing the nation, but asked Nigerians to reflect on where the country was prior to 2015. He goes further to reaffirm the commitment to deal with criminals as he frowns on the destruction of public property and killing of innocent citizens.
I want Nigerians to be fair to this administration. They should reflect seriously at the time we came in, especially relative to Northeast and South-South. Where we are now, that's in time relativity. Resources, how much were we producing? How can you go to police station, kill the police if they are there, loot the armory, and burn the place? What do you want to achieve? Go and open prison and allow criminals that have been tried through the legal system and let them loose on the society. And then how can government sit aside and allow that confusion to be perpetrated? All they need is confusion, and no government can allow confusion. They should go and ask the governors of Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna, and find out how we have been deploying the police and the military to deal with the bandits. We are not sparing anybody.
On the issue of transition of power, President Buhari makes it clear that he is determined to successfully hand over to his successor come 2023, as he took an oath to abide by the Constitution.
I hate fraud in any form. If I haven't made this statement and made it absolutely clear that I have sworn to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution said you can't do more than 2 terms. I have sworn. I had the first term, and before the first term, I went to every local government in this country, all the 774 local governments. The second term, I went to every state 2019, the amount of people that came to see me in every state across the country were more than anybody can buy or force. So I am very pleased that Nigerians deliberately made an attempt to understand me, and that I will stand by my oath of office that I will serve this country honestly and diligently.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari speaking there during an interview with the Nigerian Television Authority. In part two, after the break, President Buhari reaffirms belief in the devolution of power to states and local governments, blames state governments for resisting agitation. That's in a moment. To join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. For the third time in about 4 months, bandits attacked school in Kaduna, killed 1 student and kidnapped 8 others and 2 lecturers of Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic. At least 14 persons killed in another attack on Zurmi and Kaura Namoda local government areas in Zamfara state. The president insists his administration will not spare bandits and those destroying public assets, restates commitment to handing over power in 2023. And G7 summit begins in Cornwall, United Kingdom, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson urging leaders to learn lessons of COVID-19 pandemic and address inequality. The president is insisting that he's committed to devolution of power. He said this when he met with members of the Nigerian Interreligious Council, led by the Sultan of Sokoto and the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria at the State House. President Muhammadu Buhari said restructuring, true federalism or devolution of power remains a constitutional matter which only the National Assembly can deal with. Our State House correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari receives members of the Nigerian Interreligious Council, led by the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar, and the President of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Samson Ayokunle. Members of the council who have been part of a broader dialogue held recently in Abuja brought resolutions to the president.
The government should fund the armed forces more adequately. All sources of illegal inflow of weapons to the country should be blocked.
We know these are challenging times. We will continue to pray for you, and we pray to Almighty Allah to guide you aright, to make your tenure a very successful one, so that we all end up with a much, much better Nigeria.
Undoubtedly, the subject of devolution of powers have remained central within discussions, and on this, President Muhammadu Buhari maintains that he has lent his support, but there's been resistance at the subnational.
On the contentious issue of restructuring or true federalism or devolution of powers, like you all know, this is a constitutional matter with which only the National Assembly can deal. I remain an apologetic believer in devolving power to the people, and that is why I signed the executive order granting autonomy to state legislature and judiciary. Unfortunately, this was met with some resistance at the state level and led to a more than 2 months strike action that has caused the country a lot of pain. I must confess that I am more pained than anyone can imagine with the ongoing security challenges because, like you noted during your meeting, they have increased the hunger, pain, and anger in the land.
The president identifies the role of religious leaders as critical to correcting asymmetrical perspectives on the various issues, while asserting that financiers of criminals, as well as the actual perpetrators, would no doubt be brought to book. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
The former President Olusegun Obasanjo and General Salami Abubakar were also part of the meeting by the Interfaith group, some who later met with the president today. The former president, on his part, told journalists that Nigerians would start witnessing actions and changes amid tensions in various parts of the country as part of the results from the meeting. He said although the communique from the meeting is yet to be released, issues bordering on Nigeria's economy, national security and development were discussed.
For almost 9 hours, with only 30 minutes of lunch break, to deliberate on issues concerning security, economy, welfare, well-being, and unity and progress of Nigeria. Suffice it for now to know that actions on our part and on other people's part that are of immediate requirement, you will be seeing them being taken. We, for instance, those of us who participated, pledge to ourselves and pledge to Nigerians that we will lead in changing the narrative of how we address ourselves, of how we talk to ourselves, of the language we use, because we have to start building trust, building confidence, building relationship, and reaching out.
Tomorrow, June 12, is Nigeria's Democracy Day, a day to commemorate the nation's return to democracy. And already some groups and eminent Nigerians are speaking about the essence of the nation's democratic experience. Our political correspondent, Sheung Okimbaloe, reports.
It is a rainy day in Lagos, Nigeria, but it appears the Afrobeat music on display here is a relief. The mood is a commemoration of Nigeria's Democracy Day, June 12, also a remembrance of the annulled 1993 presidential election, perceived to be the freest and fairest in Nigeria's history. Some of the frontline pro-democracy fighters, some of those who spent time behind bars during the military dictatorship, the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, are here today at a symposium on how federalism can help fix the insecurity situation in the country.
To have a meaningful national security and national constitution, that constitution must have clauses that spells out a proper national security architecture that befits the country. First line of national security has to be anchored on unconventional citizens' army of local government-based self-defense forces.
In an ideal federation, there are two units, the center and the provinces or the regional unit, to the federal agreement or covenant. Two, which means that the state government or regional government to the contract, to the federal contract, are those empowered to create local governments.
The group is clamoring for a proper federal state and have a premise they hinge this on.
NADECO, on behalf of most Nigerians, is equally disturbed with the semi-total disregard of this administration to fulfill its electoral promises or manifesto, that it will restore the country to federal constitutional governance if voted into office.
Some groups like NADECO and other individuals who were in the trenches for the return to civilian rule are seeking a reality of the sort of Nigeria they fought for, part of which may be the actualization of the dreams of the June 12. Shinwa Kimbaloye reporting for Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, National Association of Nigerian Students suspends planned demonstration to demand safety of schools. Plus, number of Nigeria's active internet subscribers drops by 6% to 144 million in the first quarter of 2020. And that will be on Business News. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Terry Ikumi. Terry?
Hello, Ijoma. The National Association of Nigerian Students says it has suspended the planned June 12 protest, citing concerns of safety of protesters and fear of a possible hijack by politicians. President of the association, Mr. Sunday Asefon, says while every Nigerian has the right to protest, security agencies have shared credible intelligence report that the protest would be hijacked. He states categorically that the planned protest was born out of concerns for the safety of students and not against the present administration, as rumored. Meanwhile, the president is expected to address the nation tomorrow at 7 a.m. in commemoration of the 2021 Democracy Day. A statement from the presidency urges all television and radio stations in the country to join the national network station for the broadcast. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Mr. Balarabe Ilela as the new Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made the announcement in a statement issued today. Mr. Ilela is a veteran broadcaster and his appointment is for a tenure of 5 years in the first instance. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has laid the foundation stone for the construction of a renal center at the Rivers State University Teaching Hospital. Governor Wike says the center, with a capacity to diagnose, carry out hemodialysis and transplant, is aimed at increasing the chances of residents to access quality health care services in the treatment of kidney-related diseases when the need arises.
After 14 days of touring different parts of River State to commission projects and flag off the construction of others, Governor Nyesom Wike is at the premises of the River State University Teaching Hospital.
I want to inform us that His Excellency approved...
He is here for an assignment considered critical to the well-being of everyone, the foundation laying for the construction of a renal center.
The project that we have come today to break the ground consists of 2 floors. The ground floor, which we have the hemodialysis unit, it has 2 consulting rooms, it has 2 doctors' call rooms, and 1 nurses station, and also nurses' call room. The hemodialysis ward has 8 hemodialysis machines, 2 of which will serve infectious diseases.
With about 240,000 out of the over 14 million patients in Nigeria said to be in urgent need of hemodialysis and kidney transplant, Governor Wike believes this intervention is crucial.
As we came in here, I just looked around and I see the changes in this teaching hospital. I can say that if we have not put money in this place, we have put not less than 9 billion naira in this teaching hospital.
For the special guest, Dr. Abiye Sekibo, who is also a medical doctor, the River State Governor has indeed outperformed his predecessors in terms of governance.
What Governor Nyesom Wike has done far surpasses what any other human being who has served as governor has done in the health sector. That's why I suspect that somehow he wanted to be a doctor and it didn't work. Your Excellency, welcome to the profession. Thank you very much.
The Rivers State government also believes that this new effort will no doubt improve healthcare service delivery in the state and also complement other projects already inaugurated by this administration.
And that's all from Abuja. Now to Teniola Shabawale for Business News.
Thanks a lot, Terry. Welcome to Business News. A total of 144.94 million subscribers were active on the internet in the first quarter of 2021. That's according to data by the National Bureau of Statistics. The NBS, in its telecoms report, states that the latest figure represents a 6% decrease in internet subscriptions quarter on quarter. The data also shows that for voice calls, 192.41 million subscribers were active, as against more than 200 million users in the fourth quarter of 2020, dropping by as much as 5.9%. Lagos State recorded the highest number of subscribers for active voice and internet, while Bayelsa and Ebonyi State had the least number of subscribers. President Muhammadu Buhari says he's not satisfied with the current state of Nigeria's economy owing to the challenges impacting its performance. Speaking during an interview with the Nigerian Television Authority today, President Buhari stresses that his administration is persuading foreign countries to allow multinationals invest in the country.
I'm trying even harder to make people become accountable and to make sure we persuade foreign countries to allow their multinationals to develop more confidence in Nigeria and come and invest. When they develop more confidence in Nigeria, they will come and invest. That will give us employment, that will provide us with goods and services, and the chain, right from the farms upwards, will be great, and that means a lot of employment. And this is our problem: large population, young population, unemployed population.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari speaking there. And now the local equities market fails to sustain the positive momentum from the last three trading sessions as investors turn to profit-taking. Ini John Mekwa has a summary of today's activities at the NSE.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. The three consecutive day uptrend which dominated the domestic stock market's performance could not be sustained into the close of Friday's trading session due to effects of profit-taking activities by some investors. Now, despite recording 24 gainers against 16 losers, key indicators of local buzz turned negative on a 0.14% pullback on the all-share index, and 28 billion naira knocked off the total value of listed equities. GT Bank, which is one of the top 5 most capitalized stocks on the NGX, was a major factor behind the market's renewed loss as its share price fell by 0.34%, but that did not make an impact on its sector's index. However, Tier 1 lender is not the only one. Some consumer goods and insurance sector components also contributed to the overall loss recorded today, while the oil and gas as well as the industrial goods ended positive. Meanwhile, total volume of shares traded at the close of session was higher by about 15% against Thursday's turnover of 289.08 million units, which was largely driven by the shares of Sterling Bank. QTix is #1 gainer, while NEM Insurance is the top loser for the day. That's the stock market report. I'm Ini John Mekwa.
It's Business News tonight. I'm Teniola Shabawale. It's back to Ijeoma for the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks, Teniola. Total Grace Oil and Gas Limited has grown its retail capacity in the downstream sector with the new service station in Lagos. During the ceremony, the chairman and chief executive officer of the group, Henry Akindru, says besides the objective to make products readily available, the company owes its customers a duty of care to ensure that they get value for their money.
Located in Aja along the Lekki-Epe Expressway, the new Total Grace Oil and Gas Station is the latest addition to the company's list of retail outlets, representing its intention to expand reach. Special guest at the occasion, Nollywood actress Funke Akindele-Bello cuts the ribbon as the chairman of Total Grace Group and other guests watch.
We want to be in every state capital. I want to make sure that the distance between our station is not so much, so that our customer can easily patronize us. That is our goal. We have several in other states, but in Lagos, our plan is to have like 75. We have mapped out the areas in Lagos and our plan on how to go to each of those areas. So very soon, before December, the number in Lagos, I'm sure, should be more than 30.
The facility is equipped with 8 PMS dispensing points, 1 diesel sale point, and 1 gas station.
See the decor of the filling station right now. That alone speaks. So you are going to see that services not only with the filling station, but the other services behind. We have a service bay. We have some other shops that are going to cater the needs of the people around. And also the cooking gas. We have a small shop behind there. So I think it's a package in itself.
Mindful of competition in the oil and gas downstream sector, the company hopes to deploy its core values to gain advantage.
We have a kind of slogan. Our 1 liter is 1 liter. Anywhere, 1 liter is 1 liter. So no discrepancy in whatever we do. So we know sharp practices. So equally, the same thing will be operated here. Like if you see our price now is 161. So with that, I'm sure people will be encouraged.
The Aja outlet makes it the 5th opening within 1 week, including 4 in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Total Grace Group now has 13 fully functioning stations in its oil and gas retail portfolio.
Still ahead on the news at 10, G7 summit begins in Cornwall, United Kingdom, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson urging leaders to learn lessons of COVID-19 pandemic and address inequality. Plus other international news from our studio in London. Just stay with us. Welcome back. The G7 summit has started in Cornwall, England, with UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson urging fellow leaders to learn from the mistakes of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's head over to our London studio, where Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Leaders from across Europe and the world have discussed climate change and the global vaccination drive on the first full day of meetings at the G7 in Cornwall.
Well, here we go. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Boris Johnson started the day meeting the Japanese Prime Minister and Canada's Justin Trudeau.
Zweitens geht es natürlich dann auch darum.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel said she looked forward to a multilateralism agenda or an alliance of multiple countries pursuing a common goal once again.
Hello, everyone. They're scared to death.
Meanwhile, US First Lady Jill Biden and Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, visited a local school. It's before other senior members of Britain's royal family joined world leaders for a series of events later. Blimps depicting US President Joe Biden and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson sailed in Falmouth Harbour to illustrate calls for the richer nations to deliver vaccines to poorer countries. Joe Biden has vowed to send 500 million Pfizer shots, while Boris Johnson says Britain will give at least 100 million vaccines within the next year.
Good, everybody. Thank you very much.
However, protesters in Cornwall say more needs to be done and with greater urgency. Footage has been released showing Syrian and Russian air raids in rebel-held Syria that reportedly killed at least 10 people. The White Helmets Emergency Response Group filmed a car burning at the scene of an attack in the mountainous Jabal al-Zawiya region in southern Idlib, the last major area of the country still in rebel hands. 2 civil defense workers said at least 4 rebels were killed when their convoy was hit by a Russian jet when they approached the village to rescue survivors. A 36-year-old South Korean startup founder has been elected leader of the conservative opposition party and pledged to win over increasingly disillusioned voters. Lee Jun-seok has become the youngest leader of any major political party in democratic South Korean history. He has been elected head of the People Power Party, the conservative opposition party. In the acceptance speech, he has said that his biggest task is to win the presidential election. Peru has finished counting the votes in a tight presidential runoff election, but the official results announcement may take days. Leftist Pedro Castillo is believed to have a lead of about 60,000 votes over conservative Keiko Fujimori, who is reluctant to assume her defeat and has claimed fraud without providing detailed evidence. The former schoolteacher and political novice has won widespread grassroots backing for pledges to rewrite the constitution and redistribute mining wealth. Ethiopia's electoral board has postponed elections in 2 of the country's federal states, citing irregularities and problems with the printing of ballot papers. The chairwoman of the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia said that Harar and Somali regions would cast their vote in September. The nation of 109 million people will hold national and regional parliamentary elections in 2 weeks, in what might lead to the country's first democratic transfer of power. Voting will also not take place either in the northern conflict-torn Tigray region, where hundreds of thousands of people are suffering from famine. Uganda has recorded its highest number of coronavirus cases since the pandemic began. The country entered its second wave of the pandemic in late May and currently has a 17% positivity rate. Uganda is dealing with variants of the virus that were first identified in India, UK and South Africa, in addition to the one first recorded in China. And finally, China has sent 4 satellites into orbit after launching a Long March 2D rocket into space. The satellites were launched from the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center in northern Shanxi province. It's after China also released pictures of Mars's landscape taken by its remote-controlled motorized rover Zhurong, declaring the country's first attempt of Mars exploration a success. In doing so, it made China only the second nation after America to successfully put a probe on the surface of Mars. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Novak Djokovic has ended Rafa Nadal's reign at the French Open with a 4-set win to reach the final. Djokovic edged Nadal 3-6, 6-3, 7-6, 6-2 in 4 hours and 22 minutes. Now the Serbian will play Greece's Stefanos Tsitsipas in Sunday's final. In the European Championships, hosts Italy have begun their campaign with an emphatic 3-0 win over Turkey at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. Goals from Ciro Immobile and Lorenzo Insigne earned the Azzurris a crucial victory. And that sports news is back to you, Joma.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. For the 3rd time in about 4 months, bandits attacked another school today in Kaduna State, where they killed 1 student and kidnapped 8 others and 2 lecturers of Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic in Kaduna. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and good night.